Hello, my name is Andrea Gutierrez, and I currently work for Time for Change as a youth researcher. I am or was a mentee. So, for me, mentoring is important because it gives an individual a support system, and not just personally, but professionally. And I feel like that's something that everybody should have. I'd like to share a personal experience with you as my time as a mentee. So there was a moment in my life where I was going through a tough season, and it was in high school. And I had a mentor at the time, but I didn't really connect with her. And so she brought me in and said, "Hey, you're not doing so well academically. I want to know how you are. Does it is something wrong?" And I feel like I wasn't doing well because of my personal situations. So I spoke to her about it, a little bit of detail, and she said, "Okay, well, we're gonna work on it. Don't worry. It's not you. It's you and me now. We're gonna get your grades up. I'm gonna give you um more. We're gonna work together." And so that's what she did. She assured me and gave me a sense of, she gave me that safe place where I couldn't really find anywhere. So that was an experience that I have held on. This experience has helped me personally because by her doing that, I am now able to communicate, and I know that there are people out there that you may feel alone, but you're not. And so she gave me that sense of, hey, we're gonna work at this together, so it's gonna be okay. And so I honestly wouldn't do anything differently back then because she did a pretty good job at talking to me. So yeah, mentoring can contribute to an ideal world by preparing an individual in certain skills that they would need, enhancing those skills, and helping them be able to get ready for a world out of high school or college, whatever it is. So I think that is really important. And with AmeriCorps at Time for Change, they have contributed a lot to our projects. They give me guidance and what, hey, like you could do this, you could do that, because there were times where I would be stuck. And so they have given me that guidance and support of our projects. And I really appreciate that. Thank you.
So my name is Michael Russell. I'm 60 years old. I did 25 years at Pelican Day State Prison, SHU, and I finally got out of the SHU in 2016 and ended up in High Desert State Prison, D and C yard. Uh, I'm here now, and I've done everything possible to get my life together. And if it wasn't for the help from Garden Pathways, I might not have made it. But I wanted it in my heart, and I just got a good mentor, Paul Contreras. That was one of the best things I did. And like I said, when I first got here, I didn't want to be in the program. My wife was telling me, "Come on, you gotta check it out." I said, "But I don't want to be here." It was still a little hard, a little rough around the edges, so I didn't want to get in the program. But I know I needed somewhere to start out in my life, to start over. And then to come over here and then ask for some help, and I needed a lot. I needed everything. I didn't have nothing. I didn't have clothes. So, and from that point on, every step of the way, anything I needed, if it was shoes or whatever, I'd call in the welfare department or call in my parole officer or helping me deal with filling out a resume or showing me how to even do a resume. Everything I had or everything I needed, Paul was there for me. He always helped me. You know what I mean? Um, it was the best thing I did when I got out was to come to Garden Pathways. They were there for me. After another, I got a job. I was working for carpet repair for my father-in-law. but it was pretty rough, and I ended up transitioning from that job to Target. I got a job at Target, and I'm one of their pretty good employees. Nice. I've been doing good in Target.
How long have you been at Target for?
I've been at Target for 3 months, I think, 4 months, and they love me. They love me a lot. Yes. I work hard for them. Yeah, they really do like me a lot. The executives, all of the executives talk to me all the time and say you're one of their best workers. And little by little, I ended up now today I own my own car. I have my own apartment in my name, and I have credit cards. And it's because of the hard work I put in. And for the help, like I said, for the help of all, help me fill resumes and help me give me places to go look for jobs, you know. It was, I'm here, you know what I mean?
Like in what ways has Paul helped you, or has Northern Pathways helped you?
Paul has been there.
Come on, man, that's cool.
He's helped me a lot.
Wow.
How do you see mentoring and contributing to an ideal world?
Well, I think that it has to be to the individual. The individual has to want it. For the first part of it, he has to want it, and he has to participate. You just can't sit there and wait for him to call you, or wait for him to. You have to call. You have to check in. You have to let him know that it's worthy for both of you. I mean, he's helping. He's giving his time to you, so you have to give your time to him. And you guys, it works both ways. And at the end of the day, you guys can get something accomplished. For the ideal part of the world, I think it's just like it's a friend. It's a mentor, but it's a friend, because it becomes a friendship. And if your chemistry is good between the two of you, you're gonna go a long place. You're gonna do a lot of things and do good things. I'm trying to do the best I can to make myself proud and you guys. You know what I mean? Because it means a lot to me. You guys help me a lot.
And we'll continue to be.
Paul was always there every time I needed something. And it got to the point where he's not just my mentor, he's a good friend of mine.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today is day 3, take 2 of the Hope Through Mentoring Conference. Thank you all so much for your patience as we navigate through the technical difficulties and internet lag of bringing you this conference. As you already know, today's session is pre-recorded, so we will be unable to do questions and answers at the end, but please feel free to email any questions you may have to the email address listed in the description of this video, and we'll get back to you through email. Today, we are fortunate to have Denisse Silva leading us through trauma-informed yoga and mindfulness. Denisse is a past AmeriCorps mentor who is currently pursuing her master's in counseling psychology to be a marriage and family therapist. Denisse completed her 200-hour yoga teacher training in South Central LA and has a particular interest in trauma-informed yoga and spirituality. I'm so excited to hear everything Denisse has to share with us today, so I'm going to let her get started. Thank you, Denisse, and welcome.
So today we're going to talk about trauma-informed yoga and a little bit about self-care. So I want to talk a little bit about myself, just introducing myself. My name is Denisse. I completed my 200-hour yoga teacher training. I have a unique niche in trauma-informed yoga, and I'm currently pursuing my master's in counseling psychology to be a therapist. I was also a mentor for AmeriCorps alumni 2016-2017, so I definitely have been in the mentor role and can really possibly relate to a lot of you that are possibly in AmeriCorps or that are taking mentor positions throughout our community here in Kern County. So workshop outline, just kind of breaking down what we'll do together. The workshop will highlight trauma-informed yoga and then the importance of self-care. We'll learn about trauma-informed yoga. We'll discuss kind of what self-care means to you. So this will be more of a place for you to reflect on it on your own time. We'll digest the levels of self-care, jot down ideas of self-care at your own timing, maybe journal it down. And then I'll facilitate a gentle yoga session for you all. And if you have any questions, I will leave my contact information for you all to reach me, since this is virtual and not live per se. So what is trauma-informed yoga? So trauma-informed yoga takes into account how trauma can show up in a person. So I like to think of our mentees at this time, how each of them showcases different behaviors or mannerisms based on kind of what they've experienced in their life. And a lot of our mentees have experienced trauma in different ways. So we can see that, this kind of shows up differently in each of them. And yoga, trauma-informed yoga really encapsulates this because it recognizes that when I am at a yoga class, different people in this room have experienced different traumas. And typical yoga kind of doesn't necessarily recognize this or does a heavy emphasis on it. So essentially what trauma-informed yoga does is it provides choices for people in poses, because one size fits all mentality isn't really true in the sense that we've all experienced different things. So that's kind of what it bases it off of. So this itself is intertwined with mental health, and this is why I love it so much, because we learn really vital skills to help us explore our body, become aware of our inner experience, and practice self-regulation, which means being able to help ourselves during really hard moments and helping ourselves kind of maneuver any trauma that we experience or that another person maybe experiences. So how does this all kind of relate to you all? That's kind of what I'm posing to you all to think about it. But you each, and including myself, we each have our unique traumas of overwhelming situations or experiences that we've all had to face. On top of that, we are in the helping field. We are in the helping profession. So this exposes us directly to secondary trauma, which is also called vicarious trauma, if you've heard of that. But secondary trauma is defined as indirect exposure to trauma through a firsthand account or a narrative of a traumatic event. So sometimes when our mentees share with us really difficult situations or experiences that they've gone through, listening to those stories can really impact us. And I remember my first day at my AmeriCorps term, hearing just the story that just astounded me, because it was something that I wasn't able to really understand since I haven't gone through that. But it really impacted me just hearing that a student of mine was going through something really difficult. So that is how kind of trauma affects us in our field. And to think about secondary trauma, how our role, we are exposed to this as well. So with this, I kind of want to tie it back into self-care. What does self-care mean to you? And what do you do when you do self-care? And I think there are a lot of different ideas that we see on social media on what it looks like, but I want you to think about it. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to engage in this practice of self-care? And what are some of your go-tos when you are in a difficult situation? What do you do before you arrive to a difficult situation? What are some things that you practice throughout your life for yourself? So we're gonna talk a little bit more about this. So self-care, think of prevention versus intervention. And I like to claim that self-care is something that's really hard for me to sometimes engage in. And I think that's why I'm here talking about it, because I understand how hard it can be to give back to ourselves. And I have always really struggled with self-care, and I think that's why I'm so aware. And I like to just advocate for this because it's something that I have trouble, have had trouble, and still have some trouble with at times. But think about self-care as a means of prevention and intervention. And I say when I say by this is think of self-care as something that you can do to help you before you break down or before you get burnt out. And I am thinking of this as a means of intervention rather than in prevention rather than intervention, because when we are already in a state of burnt out and we're breaking down because it's just been too much, it can be really difficult to implement self-care at that point because we're so caught up in whatever is happening that it can be difficult to get up and do anything that makes us feel better at that point, right? So thinking of self-care not as a means to intervene when I'm already, up to here, but helping us not reach that point of burnt out. So some common ways, that I think um, that maybe social media or that we think of as means to do self-care are the facials, are the bubble baths, the candles, the aromatherapy, the exercise, or the yoga. We'll be doing that today. So I want you to think about self-care in that framework. I think we've all kind of know it in that framework, but I also want you to think about self-care in a not so common way that is very much self-care in itself, which is giving yourself the time to process and relieve some of those emotions. So possibly crying, having those times to just release, setting boundaries for yourself throughout your mentorship. This was a big one for me because I had no boundaries set. I was 100% just in my work and I didn't know how to say yes or I didn't know how to say no really. So that's why I put it there, saying no or saying yes. Some people need to learn to say no. Some of us need to say yes more often. So whatever is your challenge, maybe that is your self-care. Going to therapy is another one that I advocate. Reaching out to others, and I think this itself can be a really hard one to do when we are struggling. We don't want to reach out to others, but maybe that itself is what you need at that moment. And then the last one that I like to share is balance. Remembering that we need to balance work and play. Play kind of meaning, enjoying the things you love, allowing yourself to engage in your hobbies, remembering that work isn't 100% of your life. And then that detaching from work because we can oftentimes just be out of balance, possibly playing too much, possibly working too much, and just gain a really good balance of loving life, doing what you love, and also having to do what you need that's necessary for your work, whatever that is. So at this time, I want you all to kind of jot down some ideas of self-care. Maybe it's one that you saw in the previous slideshow, but maybe it's something that you want to start and you've been hesitant about. I think this is the time, and this is a message for me to encourage you to start whatever that idea is. And these are some of my self-care practices at the moment. I've just taken some time throughout my day just to gaze up at the clouds, and I do this while I'm driving, and I do this while I'm at the park. I listen to binaural beats, which are just different tunes that just help me just come to myself and to my body. I love to make smoothies and add different greens and vegetables into them. And I love smell is something that is, I think, so important. Sometimes smell can help us come back to the moment, to the present. And rose oil is one of my favorite essential oils. I go to therapy, I go on hikes. I avoid multitasking, but I mean by that is I try to focus on one thing at a time so I don't overwhelm my system with so many things all at once. Although sometimes I still multitask, and it's okay. I'm not perfect at this, but I'm learning as I go. I have no notifications on my phone from social media as a means to, like, not overwhelm my brain with so many things to do, journal, meditate. I say no a whole lot now, and I admire a whole lot of nature. So these are just ideas for you to kind of think about. What are things that resonate with you, that you want to participate in, that you want to explore. I think it's a game of exploration, figuring out what works for you, and also a game of a guessing game sometimes, when we just got to try different things until we sit with one that we really just love. So figuring out what self-care means to you before you reach burnt out, before you reach that stage of collapsing. So we're going to now begin our trauma-informed yoga session. So we are not live, so that first point doesn't apply, but just find a comfortable seating position. That is kind of where we will be heading to. In today's practice, we will explore our body, become aware of our inner experience, and practice self-regulation. So this is coming back to the trauma-informed yoga piece, where we can really learn vital skills about, being there and practicing that self-regulation when we are experiencing secondary trauma, or when we're dealing with our own trauma from our own personal experiences. So let's get comfortable wherever we're at. And I'm going to actually set a candle, and we're going to start off by kind of setting our intention. So I'm going to set an intention myself, but I also want you to think about what intention you want to set, and maybe what led you to come to this video and watch it. What are you experiencing right now that is calling to you to do self-care, practice self-care, maybe add something to your routine? So let's just think about that for a second. We're taking some time to slow down here. So as you start to think about an intention for your practice, we're going to be engaging in more of a seating yoga practice. So you can all see me, and we will get started. So you can be crisscross applesauce, or you can have your legs out. If you have any knee pain, you can add something to the bottom of your butt. We like to call those the sit bones, having the hips higher than the knees. So notice how your legs are feeling when you are sitting down. Maybe you need a cushion of some sort. I have a wall here to lean on. So again, these are the options that we're providing for our body. Because if I told you, let's do crisscross applesauce against the wall looking at me, that might not work for you. So let's figure out what we need to do for ourselves. I'm going to do like a half crisscross applesauce, and let's begin. So we set an intention already, and now we're going to start to really gain that awareness. So we start that by just kind of looking around our space for just a second. Kind of bringing our awareness to everything around us. And that itself is mindfulness. Being mindful of things around you, of your environment. And I want you to notice any of the colors that you see in front of you. And I see a lot of colors on my end, but I don't know what kind of colors you are all seeing. Maybe naming them in your head, kind of noticing spectrum of colors in your space. Pink, some blue, some green on my end, some white, some yellow. And notice what you experience as you start to slow down and become mindful. Maybe just take a big sigh there. Maybe you become a little bit more aware of your body as you start to become a little bit more aware in general of your space. And from our space, we're going to start bringing our awareness to ourselves. So we're noticing our space, but now we're bringing our awareness to us, within us. Maybe checking in with yourself, asking yourself, how am I doing this evening? How are you doing this evening? Maybe there's a word to describe it, some sort of emotion. Maybe there's multiple emotions there, or maybe there's, there's not a word that quite resonates with what we're experiencing right now, maybe. So while we're here, I want to present to you a couple options. You can have the options to open your eyes or close your eyes. So deciding what feels safer for you in your space. When we're in a safe space, we can feel comfortable with our eyes closed. But when we feel a little bit unsafe or a little bit anxious, maybe we need our eyes open. So kind of deciding what you need, what it is that makes you feel more comfortable doing exactly that. I'm going to close my eyes, but feel free to keep yours open since you're watching the screen. Some people feel comfortable just following my voice. So again, seeing what works for you, because what works for me will not work for you exactly. We all need our specific kind of thing. And when we're here, we're checking in with ourselves. Just feeling ourselves out for a second. Notice if you feel anything in the body, if the body's communicating anything to you right now. Maybe you feel a physical symptom or a physical sensation of some sort. What do you think that is communicating? If this feels a little bit uncomfortable for anyone, just kind of remaining within your body, it can be really hard to sometimes come to our body, especially if there's a lot of tension, a lot of heavy emotions at this time. So I want you to try and experiment today and see if you can kind of rock yourself back and forth, seeing if that at all helps. Again, playing this guessing game, it works, it doesn't. And just explore it. Sometimes we need to rock ourselves, and we like to call this self-soothing. And it's part of regulating ourselves, so that's self-regulation. We're coming in, and we're noticing what's there. And at this time, I also want you to think of your intention. Whatever your intention was, we're bringing it now, reminding ourselves of that intention here. We're going to take a communal breath. So what I mean by that is we're just going to see if we want to breathe in together through our mouth or through our nose, whatever works best for you. I'll be doing it through my nose, but if your nose is plugged, try it from your mouth first. Or maybe out through your mouth as well. Kind of notice what feels better for you, breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. Exchanging it. And we're going to start doing some movement now. We're going to notice the top of our head. And I want you to imagine a string being pulled up. So kind of lifting our spine just a little bit more. If you have any sort of back support, feel free to lean on it. It can be a little bit easier on our back. Maybe we have some tension today. We want to acknowledge that and support ourselves through anything we're experiencing. So all we're doing, again, we're lifting that head up a little higher, remembering to come with grace, kind of accepting whatever our body is communicating at this time. All we're doing is we're extending that spine and feeling that extension of the spine. And release it whenever you'd like again. So again, we're just coming to this gentle movement of extending the spine, almost as if we were a puppet and there was a string there. Breathing into our spine. This is where our central nervous system is located, all throughout our brainstem, connecting all the way down to our spine. So breathing into this. Breathing into this area. And coming down when you're ready. We're going to start by moving the shoulders. So we're going to lift our shoulders up and then roll them back. You can carry a lot of the tension here. So notice if you hear any sounds. Lifting them towards our ears and rolling them back. This is a very gentle movement. So just allow yourselves to really feel your own body. Not worry about whether you're doing it right or wrong. This is a very gentle, graceful pose. And feel free to go the opposite direction as well. Kind of lifting your shoulder blades as they come a little bit closer and then rolling them forward. So really feel those shoulder blades coming together, almost as if they were just coming in contact with each other. And then rolling them forward. Kind of engaging in whatever rhythm you want. Maybe you're opening them up, going back and forth, and maybe going back 5 times, forward 3 times, whatever it is. Doing what is best, kind of figuring that out for yourself. That's something I cannot tell you. So we're exploring this within our body. From here, we're going to work our way up to our head. So we're still coming onto that central nervous system. We're going to take our right ear, kind of gently, almost trying to see if we can rest it on our right shoulder. Not lifting the shoulder, but just allowing that shoulder to gently come down, allowing gravity to kind of allow that shoulder to relax there on one side as we bring that right ear onto that right shoulder. Noticing that strain right here, if you can feel any sort of sensation on your neck on the opposite side there. You have the option of moving your chin up or down, however you'd like, kind of finding maybe a sweet spot where you feel that there is some tension in. And just moving about. Noticing any sounds that the body is communicating. And what we do on one side, we love to do on the opposite side. So now we're going to rest that left ear onto that left shoulder, allowing the neck to get a really juicy stretch here as that right shoulder is just resting with gravity being pulled down, allowing that opening of the neck. As we breathe into this area, You have the option of, again, lifting that chin up or down at your own rhythm, at your own pace. Or maybe we're not even moving our chin. Maybe we just want that full neck stretch with very little movement. Notice any differences from one side of your body to the other. We sometimes can hold stress on one side of our body versus the other. So notice if there's anything here different or similar to your opposite side of your neck. And then we're going to come to the center here. And from here, we're going to start to make circles, allowing your neck to come down, to come up, to rest almost that right ear to the right shoulder, left ear to the right shoulder. Remembering that you can go either direction, find your own pattern or rhythm. That's where your exploration comes in. I think we sometimes become accustomed to doing what the facilitator, the leader is doing. But I want to empower you all today to figure that out for yourselves. Maybe you find a sweet spot where you want to kind of sit there for a little bit longer. Feel free to bring the opposite hand of whatever that area is. Just giving yourself a little bit of a gentle pull. Finding if that at all helps relieve any sort of stress or feelings. And we're going to gently come back to the center. We're going to start to engage in a little bit of more movement. So we're going to start by just bringing our hands overhead and bringing our hands to our center. And just engaging in this movement, you're going to feel our shoulders start to become really activated. And just continuing this. Feel free to change your seating pose if you need to at any point, to change where you're sitting at if that's what you need. And we're going to come down, lowering our hand here, and then bringing them to the side. I have them on my knees, but wherever you're at, just having your arms here. We're going to extend our neck once more as if we had that little string right here. As you notice, it went from me kind of folding my shoulders in to me kind of opening up my chest, bringing my shoulder blades a little bit closer together than they were in the beginning, and then extending my neck a little bit higher. So it's a full-blown boom, opening shoulders together, neck a little bit extended. When we tend to be overwhelmed, we tend to come into this posture of closing ourselves, which comes from a place of protecting ourselves, a place of wanting to kind of, take care of ourselves. So right now we're going to challenge ourselves by opening up our chest, engaging in almost the opposite body language here. And as we are extending that neck, we are going to take one hand forward and one hand towards the back and looking almost over that shoulder. So again, extending that neck up and looking over that shoulder there. Engaging in a gentle little twist. Remembering that it's not about doing the most that you can or making your body hurt. Finding a good balance where you feel maybe your ribs turning. You feel a gentle pull of your shoulders. Finding a nice, easy pose that feels good to you. And we're going to come back to the center. We're going to have our neck pulled once more. And this time we're going to add a breath in there. So as we breathe in, we're going to twist. And as we breathe out, we're going to hold the pose there. So breathing in, one hand to the back, and exhaling, looking towards the back of that right shoulder. And we'll come back to the center. So kind of notice what you're doing, notice what you're experiencing now, if you feel any difference or any similarities from the very beginning. Checking in with ourselves like we did in the beginning. This time we're going to extend our legs. If your legs are extended, seeing if we could extend our legs, bringing a little gentle bend to our knees there. I want you to support yourselves by putting your hands to the side of you and just feeling your whole back kind of lift you up here. And feeling the heaviness of your legs. This is called staff pose, and it's one of the most difficult poses in yoga because it requires us to lift ourselves up. But we're supporting ourselves through this today. And we'll rest coming out of that wherever you're at. Maybe you're moving your legs a different way. Maybe your leg is sleeping like mine is. To kind of notice whatever it is that you're experiencing. And maybe change your seating or whatnot, whatever it is that you need to do. As we're here, we're going to bring our hands, maybe opening up our palms or closing them. So I want you to open them up if you feel the need to receive anything. If that itself resonates with you, or maybe we need our fists closed, which means that we need to maybe ground ourselves today. So wherever you're at, kind of notice where you are. If you're wanting to receive any love, any light, any encouragement today, or maybe you need to ground yourself. Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed. We just want to understand where we're at. That's the whole purpose, and not judge where we're at. Whether you're opening or releasing, I want you to think about what it is that you want to receive or what it is that you want to ground into. And with that intention, we're going to engage in the same movement that we just did. So we're going to start by, again, lifting the shoulders up and opening them up. Whatever it is, with that in mind, grounding or receiving, coming back to the shoulders just as we did earlier, lifting the shoulders up and opening. Remembering that there is a forward motion and a backwards motion that you are figuring out and you are exploring for your body. We're going to come to the neck, remembering there's both directions that we can go to. Coming to one side, coming to the other. Figuring out our own little pattern, our own little rhythm. Keeping our hands open or closed, whatever it is, wherever you're at. Maybe bringing our hand to our head if we need a gentle pull of any sort. Seeing if that resonates with you in your body. We're going to extend that neck up as if we were a puppet here. Breathing in and breathing out as we look over our shoulder there. Coming back to the center, extending that spine and that neck once more like we were a puppet there. Breathing in and then bringing our right, looking over our right shoulder there. Coming back to the center as we bring our hands up and bringing them down. Doing a couple of these rounds at your own pace and rhythm. Maybe we're going fast today. Maybe we are just having a lot of energy, a lot of nervousness, figuring out that right speed for you. Or maybe we're going a little bit slower because that's where we want to be at today. Either or is exactly where you need to be. We're allowing some energy in our body to kind of escape us. Bringing our hands down to the center. Having our palms open or closed wherever you're at and kind of noticing how you feel. Maybe we're naming the emotion that is there. Maybe we feel this great peace, or maybe right now we're struggling. Recognizing exactly where you're at, maybe in the middle of those two too. We're going to engage in some self-affirmations by telling ourselves what we need to hear, what we would tell a friend in our situation at this current moment. Maybe we need to extend some love to ourselves, maybe some encouragement or support, some validation. What do you need to hear right now? Give that to yourself. I told myself that it's a lot that I'm going through, but I'm going to figure it out. It's what I needed to hear. So we're going to engage in a couple of communal breaths. So finding our own breathing pattern, maybe in through our nose, maybe in through our mouth, maybe exchanging that or remaining it just within the nose or within the mouth. We'll take one more here, taking our most profound breath of the day, possibly the deepest one you can, filling up that belly. Maybe we're placing our hands in our belly as we start to fill up that belly. Exhaling until we can no longer exhale. And allowing our normal breath to come in. And if you have your eyes open, just start to bring your awareness to the colors of your room once more. And if you have them closed, gently open them up like myself and just notice and take in all the colors around you again. Notice what you're experiencing now, if there's a difference for you there, or similarities, or a contrast of some sort. And from our space that we're in, we're bringing our energy back into our virtual space that we're sharing this evening. And I want you to take some time to process what came up for you during the meditation. Because sometimes difficult emotions come up. Sometimes we don't sit with this peace that meditation is supposed to take us to, right? But really, it's the awareness piece that we want to practice, whatever that is. So thinking about what came up for us, maybe journaling it down, maybe using any sort of self-care that you need right now to implement into your life because something's unfolding, some energy came up. I feel a little bit unnervous. Maybe I was really harsh on myself during the meditation. So think about whatever it is that's coming up for you. Doing whatever it is that you need to engage in, and validating that, whatever it is that came up. I had one more slide to share, but I guess I can just say it here. If you have any questions about the practice, if you want to reach out to me, if you feel it on your heart to connect with me, feel free to contact me, connect with me on my social media platforms. My name on there is Denisse, Denisse. Bianet, it's a long one. Denisse Bianet Silva. So Denisse Bianet being Bianed, and my last name Silva, Silva. You can find me there, reach out to me, connect with me. And thank you all for participating and for doing the service that you do, because you are helping so many people. You are connecting with your mentees. And sometimes we're the only person that they have in their lives at this point in their lives. So that is a lot on you to take on too. So recognize that you need the same love, the same understanding, and the same compassion that you offer your mentees. But that's it for me. So I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Remember, secondary trauma is real. Self-practice, self-care is important, and you matter. Thank you.